Hi, this week we're going to be doing Chapter 13 in our Human Resources book, and this is about developing employee relations. Having a good employee relations means providing fair and consistent treatment to all employees so that they will be committed to the organization. Companies with good employee relations are likely to have an HR strategy that places a high value on employees as stakeholders in the business. Effective employee relations require cooperation between managers and employee relation representatives. These are members of the HR department that try to ensure that the company policies and procedures are followed. Employee relations policies provide channels to resolve problems before they become too serious. Employee relation representatives may also develop new policies that help maintain fairness and efficiency in the workplace. Developing employee communications. Many companies have found that the key to a good employee relations program is a communication channel that gives employees access to important information and an opportunity to express their ideas and feelings. These communication channels should move information upwards, downwards, and across the organizational structure. And managers can do this by walking around and talking to their staff informally, by sending out newsletters. Employees can give feedback by sending emails and memos um, during meetings and other forms of face-to-face communication. There are two different types of information that can be sent and received. The first one is facts, which are pieces of information that can be objectively measured or described. The other one is feelings, and feelings are emotional responses to the decisions made or actions taken by managers or employees. A company must be especially careful of employees' feelings, especially when it's restructuring or downsizing and laying off people. So how does the communication work? Communication starts with the sender, who has the message, then sends it to the receiver, and then the sender must encode that message and select a communication channel. Communication is not effective unless the receiver is able to decode the message and understand it. The sender may send a message that has multiple interpretations. This happens quite frequently in emails. Because of this, effective communication should allow for feedback from the receiver to show that they understood the original message. Communication that provides feedback is two-way communication. Effective ways to communicate useful feedback to staff include, number one, you should focus on specific behaviors. Provide feedback that lets the employee know what specific behaviors are effective or need improvement. You want to keep, number two, you want to keep feedback impersonal. You want to be descriptive and non-judgmental. And then you want to also give feedback at the appropriate time and place. Giving negative feedback in front of others is not a very wise decision. You want to focus negative feedback on behaviors that can be controlled by the employee. You want to focus on behaviors that the employee can control. Working with supervisors and managers, employee relation representatives can help by developing three different types of programs. The first one is information dissemination. Many organizations depend on knowledge workers. These are workers who transform information into a product or service, like IT programmers, writers, and educators. Employees have access to abundant information that have access to abundant information are more likely to feel empowered and are better able to participate in decision making. You can also disseminate information through employee handbooks, and these are the best source of information that HR can provide. It covers issues like employee benefits, performance evaluation, dress codes, smoking, drug testing, FMLA, sexual harassment, safety rules, and how to give any disciplinary actions. These help companies if they are pulled into litigation by an employee because it is an implied contract between the employer and the employee that restricts the firing of an employee without just cause. It deals with nepotism, which is the practice of favoring relatives over others in the workplace. Memos are also useful in conveying messages in policies and procedures. A newsletter can also be used to keep employees informed about important events, meetings, inspirational stories, and team contribution. Our CEO, as I said a couple weeks ago, Mike Packnett, he always shares an inspirational story each week of what somebody within our organization has done for one of our patients. Some managers use a simple bulletin board to relay things. I do this at work. We also have new technology that has brought about like teleconferencing, where staff can communicate even when they're away from work. There's electronic communication such as voicemail. If using a voicemail, you should leave a brief message, 30 seconds or less. You should provide a time frame for returning the call. You need to give them a cell number or maybe an email address and provide the listener a reason or the purpose of your call. You can always send emails to communicate, but you need to be careful about sending too many emails, because emails can cause many people to feel very overwhelmed and very overloaded. I get about 75 emails a day at my job, and it is very easy for me to delete those that don't look relevant to me, but I can accidentally delete something that was very important to me because I am so immune and overloaded with these daily emails. I always tell my staff to be careful what is written in their emails, because I can pull them at any time and look to see what is being discussed if I feel that they're talking inappropriately. Also, by sending an email, you don't see a person's body language or hear their tone of voice, which can lead to emails being completely misunderstood or taken the wrong way. So there is also multimedia technology, which many places use for training. This is in the form of electronic communication that integrates voice, video, and text, all of which can be encoded digitally on fiber optic networks. You can communicate by having meetings that are face-to-face. It says that managers and executives spend as much as 75% of their time in meetings. I personally probably spend about 50% of my time in meetings. Many of these meetings I feel are a waste of my time in management, and every minute is valuable to me. So I think you need to pick and choose what meetings are relevant to you. Some companies go on retreats. This is where a company takes employees to a relaxing location, such as a seaside resort, where business is mixed with pleasure, and this helps improve employee relations. A manager can also have informal communications. This is also called a grapevine information exchange, without a planned agenda that offer informally among employees. But you need to beware of clicks. One effective way to monitor informal communications is by management walking around. This is called MBWA, and this style helps to build rapport with your staff also. So the second way to communicate is employee feedback. To provide upward communication channels between employees and management, many organizations offer employee feedback programs. You want to give employees a voice in decision making and policy formulation, and also make sure that employees receive due process on any complaints that they have with their manager. The most common type of employee feedback are employee attitude surveys, which we do yearly at Parkview. Every year they send out a survey basically about what kind of leader you have. There's probably 50 questions on that, and then based upon the results of those, if you score below a certain level, then you have to do what you call an action plan to help increase those scores the following year. There are appeals procedures, which include appeals on allocation of overtime, safety rule violations, specification of job duties, size of pay increases, and performance evaluations. In unions, they can file a grievance. In non-unions, there is a grievance panel, or some organizations use an ombudsman, which is a neutral person that can hear both sides of the story. And the last way to communicate is through employee assistance. This is a program that helps an employee who is going through difficult times such as alcohol abuse, maybe domestic violence, maybe they had a death in the family, maybe they have an eating disorder. At our place of employment, we allow 8 free sessions per year. It's called EAP for any employee. A troubled employee usually calls off quite a bit. They lack attention to detail, they lack quality of work, and they may lack personal hygiene because of what they're going through. This process of going through EAP is first, you need to identify the troubled employee and you need to refer them to counseling. The next step is for the employee to actually attend a session, and then the next one is solve the problem, and the last step depends on the outcome. If they are no better, it may be in the best interest of the company to let the employee go. If it's successful, then the employee can return to work. That is my Chapter 13 summary for this week. Thank you. I'll see you next week.